Today on Monson Made This, we are going on vacation.
Brian Little.
Japan.
Every television show since the beginning of time has always gone to Hawaii. The Brady Bunch, Saved by the Bell. So why would Monson Made This be any different? So today we are taking you on a vacation in your own home to Hawaii. I have created this veganized version of a Hawaiian plate lunch. I have tofu musubi. I have Kalua pork, which is made with jackfruit, an amazing Hawaiian mac salad, and of course, white rice. So stick around and I'll show you how I'm going to make that. Speaking of vacations, this upcoming weekend I am going to the vegan street fair in LA. So if you are in LA this weekend, please stop by. Message me on Instagram if you want to say hi to me, because I will be there. But yeah, back to Hawaii. Let's get started making this amazing plate lunch. Just like with any trip you want to plan ahead, I'm going to be making the mac salad first, which ideally should be made the night before. Starting here with some vegan mayonnaise. This is just Vegenaise, and I have about a half cup here. To that, I am adding about a half carrot that has been grated. If you notice mine looks a little bit brown, it's because I didn't peel it, I just washed it. And to that, I'm going to be adding some sweet pickle relish and some grated onion. And I'm gonna add some salt and pepper right now as well. I've already cooked my pasta in advance. This makes enough for probably 2 to 3 people. And I just cooked the pasta in advance, and I did add a bit of salt there, so I'm gonna be cautious of the amount of salt I add at this point. I'll taste it later. So the reason you wanna make this probably the night before is just so it has time to set up and for all the flavors to mingle together. It will be good probably after about an hour, but of course it will be best overnight. So I've just mixed these ingredients together, and then to that I'm going to be adding my macaroni. Of course, the full recipe for this and all the other recipes will be on monsonmadethis.com, and this does make a rather small batch. Like I said, it's just for 2 or 3 people, but it's easily scalable. You could double it, triple it, quadruple it if you had to feed a larger group of people. Now this is slightly different than maybe a macaroni salad that you grew up with. It is a little bit on the sweeter side from the carrot, the sweeter onion, as well as the sweet pickle relish. So I'm just gonna mix this all together. I just want to taste this for salt and seasoning. It's actually perfect. I nailed it. So this is all set to go in the fridge. Like I said, it needs to be in there at least an hour, ideally overnight. And so, yeah, I'm gonna put this in the fridge. When I come back, we'll start on the jackfruit. Another thing that I suggest doing in advance is setting up your jackfruit. So I just have a can here of green jackfruit in brine. This one is from Trader Joe's. You can buy these a lot of places. Just make sure that it is the green jackfruit or young jackfruit in brine and not a mature jackfruit that's in syrup, because it's gonna taste like bubble gum and you don't want that. What you see here is a towel in a bowl, but inside is the jackfruit. And what I've done is opened this can, rinse the jackfruit, and let it soak in here in water overnight. And what that does is draw out a bit of that brine. A lot of people complain about jackfruit being briny or having kind of a sour flavor. So by soaking it in water overnight, you pull out a bit of that flavor, and it just helps this dish taste a little bit more not like jackfruit and brine. So what I've done though is I've drained off the water from that soaked jackfruit and then just put it in this towel to help draw off some more moisture so that I can do my next step here, which is going to be to sear the jackfruit in a pan. And I'm just doing this in a cast iron pan, a little bit of olive oil, and the jackfruit. So the goal here is to get some crispy edges on the jackfruit. That's why it's important to dry it off. I've also added some olive oil to the pan. If you wanted to do this oil-free, you absolutely could, but we're going for a Kalua pork texture, so we're going for something that's kind of oily and unctuous. So it's nice to add a little bit of oil along into the cooking process. So what I'm gonna do here is just get all my jackfruit in this pan, and I'm gonna keep an eye on it. As it cooks, I'm going to just rotate it and basically get it browned on all sides. So these are about ready to be flipped. I'm gonna add just a little bit more olive oil in here before I do that. And then I'm going to flip them up onto their edges and let those brown up. And this is a little bit labor intensive, but not difficult work. Our goal here is just, again, we're trying to get every side so those edges are sides. So we're gonna put it on this edge, let that brown, put it on the opposite side, and then we'll do the last edge and we should be good. These are browning up nicely. They just have one more side to go. I'm gonna finish getting these going and then I will meet you back at the island. The jackfruit has browned on all sides, and the next step here is to remove it from the pan and put it into another container. Now, this container I'm using here, a loaf pan, I'm using particularly because of the size. So if you don't have a loaf pan like this, but if you just have sort of a shallow baking dish, I'll explain why in just a minute, but what we're gonna do is put the jackfruit in here and I'm gonna cover it with a lid just for maybe about 5-10 minutes. The goal is to get it cool enough to be able to pull apart with our hands and also just to kind of steam it a bit so things pull apart a little bit easier. So lid goes on and I'll see you back here in a couple minutes. Our jackfruit has cooled long enough to be able to handle it. So just with my fingers, I'm going to break it up into shredded chunks. Just as kind of a disclaimer here, we're not going for a, oh my God, this tastes exactly like Kalua pork. We're trying to kind of duplicate the flavors and the experience. It's gonna taste delicious. It's gonna give you that feel, but don't be surprised if you taste this and aren't exactly sold on, oh my God, this is pork. But if you're vegan and you're craving these Hawaiian plate lunches like I have been, this is the perfect fill-in for the pork. Now, here in Las Vegas, we have a ton of Hawaiian restaurants. We have a high Hawaiian population, so these Hawaiian plate lunches are something that I had quite a bit when I was in college. Even though it's not anything that I grew up with as a child, it's something that I definitely grew to love here living in Las Vegas. And these Hawaiian plate lunches are definitely my comfort food, or at least they were before I went vegan. And I had been craving these for so long. And so one day I just decided, you know what? Let's veganize this. So as soon as I'm done breaking these apart, which I'm almost there, all right, so that looks pretty good. So now let's season this up. I'm going to first add a few dashes. Actually, I'm first going to wipe off my hands. I want to add a few dashes of liquid smoke, not too much. I have some Bragg's liquid aminos, or you could use a low sodium soy sauce. And I have some pineapple juice. And what I want to do is just stir this around and let it absorb a little bit of this. This is going to be baked, and the flavor will concentrate and absorb into it. So if it's still a little bit liquidy, don't worry, but it will absorb a little bit of this liquid. So a lot of the liquid has been absorbed, and the last thing I want to add here is some olive oil, and this just helps to create that fatty flavor and texture. It also helps it to brown up in the oven. So I'm going to toss this together. I have my oven already preheated to 450 degrees, and as I said, I wanted to use this loaf pan or a shallow dish because I do want it to have quite a bit of surface area and not be too deep, so that a lot of it gets crispy. So this is gonna go in for about 10 or 15 minutes until I notice that this top part is getting browned. I'm gonna toss it, put it back in, let it brown up again, and then it's ready to go. All right, the max salad is hanging out in the fridge. We have the jackfruit, which is our Kalua pork, is in the oven, and now we are going to get started on the tofu musubi. Now, normally this is made with Spam. It's sort of like a Spam sushi roll, but we are gonna be making it with tofu today. I have had tofu musubi before, but I'm gonna make sort of my own version of that. I have a two-step cooking process that I'm going to use here, which I think gives us the best texture and flavor. So what I have done is just thinly sliced some firm tofu, and I'm going to sear this off with just a little bit of olive oil. Again, that oil is optional if you don't want to use it. I put a little bit more olive oil on top just so it'll help brown the other side, and we're going to flip all of these over. Now, this is, as I said, a two-part process. I'm gonna flip these and talk. Oh my gosh. To the side here, I have a concoction that's made of Bragg's liquid aminos and some agave syrup. And the reason I've done those two items, the Bragg's liquid aminos is like a soy sauce, but the agave syrup is actually nice and thick, so I can create this kind of teriyaki sauce without really needing to reduce it or anything. So as soon as these are browned on both sides, I'm going to put them into this sauce, let it marinate for just a couple of minutes, and I'm actually gonna bring them back into the pan, sear them, and caramelize them again. And that's really gonna just give it a nice flavor and a richness and makes it better than just plain old tofu. These are seared off on both sides, so I'm going to be adding them to this sauce here. And obviously my container is a little bit small for, I'm making 5 today just so I have enough for taste tests and glamour shots. So I'm gonna have to do some moving around, but you know, just a shallow dish is nice, so you just have to flip it once. But these are just gonna soak in here for a little bit, and it's actually time now to flip or to toss the jackfruit. So let's go take that out of the oven. I want to take the jackfruit out of here. You can hear it sizzling. You can see that it's got some browning happening on top. And what I want to do is just toss this around so that more areas have the ability to get caramelized and browned up as well. So what's happening here is the flavor is concentrating and it's just getting a really nice meaty texture. So that's tossed. And it's gonna go back in for another 10 or so minutes until it's browned on top once again. The tofu has been hanging out in the marinade for just a couple of minutes, and it's all I want is to just suck a little bit of that up. And then I'm gonna be putting it back in the pan here so that it gets nice and caramelized. It may seem like an unnecessary step, but by grilling it ahead of time, gets a nice texture on it. Soaking it makes it flavorful. And then doing this again just gets a really nice caramelization on the surface. And don't throw this marinade away. We need it when we assemble our musubi. Tofu is ready to flip, and you can see it just has some really nice caramelization on there. Lots of flavor. So good. All right, so this is pretty much it for the tofu. As soon as this is done on this side, I'll meet you back at the island and we will assemble. I'm about ready to assemble the musubi, but before I do that, my jackfruit is done, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that out of the oven and just let it hang out until we're ready for it. So it's nice and browned. So it's still sizzling, but it'll just cool off back here while I make the musubi. So I have some rice here. It's just like a sushi rice, short grain rice that I cooked in my Instant Pot. 4 minutes on high pressure and then 10 minutes quick release, equal amount of water and rice. I will have that posted in the recipe link as well. But I'm just adding a bit of sushi vinegar here and tossing it around. Now you want about a ½ cup of rice per roll. And you want this to be, you know, room temperature. You don't want it to be cold necessarily, but you want it to be a temperature that you can touch with your hands without burning yourself. So, looks like I got this pretty evenly mixed. Next thing I need to do is cut up the nori. For the nori, you need 1 sheet for 2 rolls, 2 musubi, so I'm just cutting my nori sheets in half. I've seen this done a few different ways, a few different thicknesses. Sometimes it's just like a thinner piece of nori. Other times it's the full size like this. I like doing it this way, so I'll show you the style. Got it. So I have one of the half sheets of nori here, and I'm going to use some of the leftover sauce and just brush a little bit on here right now. Then I'm going to add my tofu piece. If you hear a weird grunting sound, that's just Tuffy sniffing around at my feet, hoping that I drop something. So just another little brush of that marinade. You want about a ½ cup of rice for each of these. And be careful, it's gonna be a bit sticky, so you might want to dampen your hands or have a damp towel on hand to help out. I'm actually gonna step away for just 1 second and dampen my hands. I'm gonna brush just a little bit more of the sauce on top here. This just helps with flavor. And then folding one side up. A little bit of sauce to help the nori stick. Set up the other side. And looks a little bit messy, but that's essentially the idea. And that's one of them. I'm going to assemble the rest of these musubi, and then I'll meet you back here and I will show you how we create the entire Hawaiian-inspired plate lunch. We are ready to assemble. Here I have my Kalua pork-inspired jackfruit. I have tofu musubi and the Hawaiian-style mac salad. I got these really cool dishes from a Japanese market here in town, and I'm gonna be using them to assemble my plate lunch. And I've found some banana leaves too, just for, you know, added aloha. So let's go ahead and make this plate. I wanna start out with a scoop of rice. Going to add a nice scoop of mac salad. Going to add my tofu musubi right here. And a nice healthy portion of this jackfruit. Now, I've made it so that you probably would want to serve it with 2 tofu musubi, but that's up to you. So here we have our delicious Hawaiian-inspired plate lunch: mac salad, tofu musubi, Kalua jackfruit, and rice. Because of our glamour shot thing happening in a little bit, and because I wanted to bring in a member of the studio audience here, my mom, Tony, to help taste test this, I've made some smaller portions of us to test now. My mom is not vegan, and she lived in Hawaii for a little bit when she was a kid. So we're gonna taste test this. You've also never had jackfruit, right?
No, never have.
So let's give it a taste. So let's start with the jackfruit first. Honest opinion.
It's a little salty.
Okay.
Wasn't sure what to expect, but it's good.
Does it have sort of like a nice, like sort of fatty, meaty, salty flavor?
Yes, very.
Anything else you want to say about it?
I was going to try it with a little of the sriracha. See if that. Ooh, yes.
So you like it?
I do.
All right, let's test the mac salad.
Okay.
Now this is made with veganese, remember, so it's a vegan mayo, but shouldn't really taste any difference.
Just tastes like macaroni salad.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I think I could have maybe added a little bit more salt, but if you notice here, it's you know, you could add a little bit more mayo at the end after you've let it chill if you want it to be a little bit creamier, but I don't know, I like it. We also added a bit of sriracha here to dip in. I think that helps bring everything together. All right, last thing to try here is the tofu musubi. Now, I always like to, when I would eat this at our Hawaiian restaurant in town, Aloha Kitchen, I always put mac salad on it, but I'll try it without for right now. I think it could use maybe a little bit more sauce. The rice is definitely prominent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's more like sushi than I'm used to, like the Spam.
Right.
And I don't quite get that Spam taste.
So maybe adding a little bit more sauce.
More flavoring, yeah. But it is really good.
So add some mac salad to it.
You put the salad on it?
Mm-hmm.
How about the sriracha?
Hot too. I love this meal. I think it really just
It's really good.
all goes together, and the fact that you have all these different components, you can kind of mix and match and put things together, and it's super tasty. So, well, thanks for coming on and taste testing.
Yes, very
She's going to be eating this for lunch today, so I'm going to say goodbye. If you want to see her maybe later this week, if you want her to do a cooking video with me, comment, and yeah, maybe she's here for a week, so maybe later this week we can do another video if you guys want to see that. So anyways, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your honesty, and yeah.
Bye.
So I want to say a big thank you to my mom for coming out here and taste testing this food with me, and thank you to all of you that have subscribed recently. It's been a couple of weeks since my last video, but I've gained a lot of subscribers, so welcome to all of you that are brand new here, and thank you for subscribing. And comment below if you have any ideas or suggestions or things you want to see on this channel. Also, if you would really like to help me out and support this channel, I do have some links below for a Patreon as well as a PayPal tip jar. If you're interested at all in supporting this channel, it would be greatly appreciated. So thank you in advance for that. So that is all for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy this meal. Subscribe down below if you have not yet already. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video. Comment below your thoughts, feelings, and thank you again for watching and all of you for subscribing. And I will see you next time with another recipe video. Bye.